Houston just changed the board. A jolt in their backcourt sent ripples through front offices tonight, and the kind of window that never opens in October just cracked an inch. Phones lit up, cap sheets came out, and a single idea started moving from rumor to roadmap. If a contender needs a calm hand to run the game, control pace, and close without blinking, the Bay is the destination that makes the most basketball sense. I'm locking in on why this shift matters to Golden State right now. The exact guard profile that elevates Steph's minutes without stealing his oxygen. The clean salary paths that work under the second apron. The realistic asset range that keeps tomorrow intact. And the on-court sequences that turn late-game chaos into organized buckets. Stay with me, because when the smoke clears, the target at the center of this tremor is a champion-level organizer whose gravity and pick-and-roll, pull-up threat, and defensive toughness fit this system like a glove. And the moment to move might be measured in days, not months. The need is simple and grown-up. We're at our most vulnerable when Steph is forced to be the engine and the transmission at the same time. When the second unit's pace gets jittery and the turnovers drift north. When pressure defenses sit on our split cuts and dare us to organize with a steady hand. What wins in May isn't just star power. It's possessions that don't die low mistake rates, smart tempo management, a guard who can take the mic for 6 calm minutes and get Draymond into his dribble handoffs. Get Clay, or Pods, or Moody into clean footwork. Get our bigs eating touches at the nail and give the ball back to Steph with the defense already tilted. That's the basketball reason this file exists. And the market reason is even colder. The veteran we're circling is a playoff-tested organizer with pull-up gravity, pick-and-roll craft, and a track record of punching above his size at the point of attack. He doesn't need 20 shots to impact a game. He needs 12 smart ones and the freedom to call the set that punishes whatever coverage just blinked. You can feel the outline already. Low turnover rates, a clean pocket pass window, the jab step into a rhythm 3 when bigs sit under, the patience to snake and hit the weak side slot, and the willingness to get under bigger guards and bother them without fouling. Fit first, money second, but the money is the mountain now, and we climb it with open eyes. In a second apron world, you don't just add a $20 plus million guard in October because you woke up ambitious. The rules are punitive by design. If you're hard-capped at or flirting with that line, you can't take back more than you send. You can't aggregate 2 medium contracts to match a big one. And sign-and-trade doors slam shut unless you're structurally under the threshold ahead of the move. That means any pad here has to be clean, a 1-for-1 salary match or surgical, multi-team alignment that still respects the 100% matching guardrail. The translation for us? If we chase a guard at that tier mid-season, it almost certainly costs a single big money slot. Not a bundle of mid-salaries we're not allowed to stack anyway. And that reality forces a soul search of the identity we're protecting on the wing and what we're comfortable giving up to stabilize the steering wheel. That's why the idea is daring and disciplined at the same time. Now zoom in on the player. This is a champion who has lived in hostile buildings and made organized basketball out of chaos. A guard whose shot profile travels in the playoffs because it's built on decisions, not miracles. He thrives in 2-man games with smart screeners. He can run empty corner pick and rolls without bleeding the clock. And he punishes drop coverage with the kind of footwork that turns 8 feet of space into an easy 3. Defensively, he's a brick-strong base, quick hands, understands angles, communicates coverages, and he's been trusted to chase star guards through the dirty stuff. Plug that into our ecosystem and watch the geometry change. Curry off the ball becomes pure violence again. Our split cuts force tags that can't overhelp because the ball handler is a 40% decision waiting to happen. And the second unit stops trying to be a highlights channel and starts being a scoreboard. Now, the part that makes this rumor feel like more than message board fiction, the guard in question is on a fresh 2-year, $50 million deal that kept him from free agency this past summer. A short runway that teams can actually model without pretending they know 2030. If you're Houston and you just lost this season to a serious injury suffered before the real games, you're doing two parallel things right now, developing your young guards while also exploring how that salary slot can help you reshape or restock when the time is right. And that is the kind of market context where contenders quietly pick up the phone to learn price, learn appetite, and park the intel until the calendar says now. Let's walk through why the fit with us pops on film. Start with the Steph actions we already live in, horns into split. Chicago actions into rescreens, delay with the 5 at the top and 2 slot cutters. And the classic high pick and roll we use like a pressure test instead of a crutch. Add our target to that and 3 things happen immediately. 1. Curry can spend longer stretches as a mover flare. Slip and lift without us losing the ability to initiate, which means defenses burn energy and concentration at Steph's speeds for 40 minutes, not 28. 2. Our target unlocks short roll reads with Draymond because his timing on pocket passes is calm, early, and right to the shooting pocket. That single detail turns a 2-on-1 into a layup instead of a scramble. 3. Closing lineups regain their shape. Small screen becomes a weapon again. We drag bigs into choices they hate, and the end game becomes execution instead of rescue missions. And if you want to feel in your gut, picture this. Game 4 on the road. Up 1 with 1:31 left, we stack a ghost screen for Steph into an empty corner drag with our target handling. The weak side tag sits on the fence. The big shows a step too high because he has to respect the pull-up. The pocket pass lands perfectly. Draymond attacks. The low man collapses. And the ball finds the corner for the shot that swings the series. That's not a dream sequence. It's a behavior change that comes from adding a grown-up decision maker to a system that's already balanced on the edge of beautiful. Now the part that makes people nervous in a second apron season. Any incoming $25 million-ish guard has to be matched by a single outgoing salary near the same band. There's no sneaking it with 2 mids. That forces a name on our side that carries weight in this locker room and in this fan base. And it's why this front office will keep this idea on monitor until the only answer left is yes or no. Because if you weaken your wing defense and length to add a small guard, you had better get the exact version of that guard who wins the possession game, doesn't bleed fouls, and makes Steph's life easier on every trip. The only way you do it is if you believe the swap raises your closing 5 certainty and your second unit's floor without cutting your ceiling to shreds. And remember, the apron also squeezes pick flexibility and freezes far out first if you live above it often enough, so you protect the 7-year horizon and you don't hand out swaps like candy. This is not a star-chasing spree. It's a narrow door for a narrow need. Let's put the ball on the deck and talk usage. With our target on the floor, the curry-off possessions no longer feel like survival. They feel like runway. We can live in Spain pick and roll with Steph as the back screener and then sprint him out to the arc. We can invert actions with Kuminga or another roll threat slipping early while the ball handler snakes. And we can finally punish teams that hide weaker defenders on our initiators because this guard won't allow passive coverage show late and it's 3 points. Show early and it's a pocket dime to a dunk. In late clocks, he's handled traps. He stood up the switches with strong guards attached. He can step back into space when the big retreats. And he's earned closing minutes in ugly playoff games because the ball doesn't burn his hands. On defense, we're not asking him to be Gary Payton 2. We're asking him to compete at the point, chase when screens are clean, scram out of mismatches on the second beat, and most importantly, talk. Our scheme is a symphony of talk or die. He talks. The rebounding hit is real when you size down, so you mitigate it with GAN rebounding and by making sure the back line rotates on time. The trade-off is worth it if you're winning turnover margin and cleaning up live ball mistakes. All that good sense only matters if the price and timing line up. So what's realistic? First, You don't think July, you think either the tiny pre-deadline window, when Houston may prefer to use the contract as matching ballast in a different blockbuster, or the early summer if options and medical timelines make a fresh conversation make sense. Second, you keep the offer in the realm of adult pain, not fantasy carnage. In a clean one-for-one world, you're sending a big money wing or forward whose defense and length you'll miss. If Houston wants picks stapled, you fight to keep them reasonable because apron teams cannot keep lighting far-out capital on fire without consequences. You also have to weigh that the player is recovering from a major knee injury. If the timeline says back late, the calculus changes. Do you want the ramp-up year to be in April? Or do you want the ramp-up year to be now, even if he doesn't touch his old level until next fall? Those are real locker room questions, because chemistry matters more than trade machine shots. And for Houston, the logic cuts both ways. They might prefer to sit, rehab, and reassess next year, or they might prefer to flip the slot to a different position of need while they ride with their young guards. That's why this is a rumor with a pulse and not a press release. Let's also be honest about what we're giving up and what we're getting back. If the outgoing is a strong, switchable wing, you must replace some of that defense by committing more Kuminga minutes on top options, more Moody with the starters to keep size on the floor, more small ball 5 possessions where Draymond's brain eats a matchup alive. Offensively, though, you gain an adult who can win the chess move when teams top-lock Steph and try to blow up our DHO dance. That single advantage ripples across a series. And because our target is a high IQ shot profile guard, he won't cannibalize Curry. He'll amplify him. Think of the receipts from his best years. Short roll lasers, pick and roll patience, catch and shoot rhythm from above the break. Endgame free throws with a pulse at 140 BPM. Those are the traits that travel. You accept that he's not going to win you the vertical war at the rim, but he's going to win you the possession war everywhere else. You accept that he's not switching onto 6 to 9 scores without help for a full quarter, but you trust the scheme and his strength to hold up on the first hit. You accept that his box score won't scream, and then you look up and realize the offense never hiccuped when Steph sat in that, in this stage of the dynasty, is priceless. The alternative plans are real and should be stick with internal ball handling growth. Lean into Podziemski's pace and reads, give Moody more on-ball reps in second units. Trust Draymond's quarterbacking and Laurie's spacing if he's here. And keep your powder dry for a bigger front court swing down the line. No shame in that path. But if this guard becomes available at a price that doesn't amputate your defense or your future, the move is honest because it's about certainty, not fireworks. It's about giving Steve Kerr 2 buttons, Steph on and Steph off, that both feel like winning basketball. And if it happens, the closing 5 options expand. Curry target Wiggins or Moody, Kuminga, Draymond against switching. Curry target Clay, Wiggins, Draymond when you need spacing and memory. Curry target GP2, Wiggins, Draymond when you need to choke a lead with stops. Flexibility wins series. Here's what I know and what I feel. Fact. The player we're talking about is on a 2-year, $50 million deal signed in July that aligned him with Houston's short timeline. Fact. A severe knee injury altered that timeline and forced Houston to explore guard contingencies and broader trade frameworks. Fact. Apron rules make any Warriors play for a guard at that salary a 1-for-1 universe with picks attached only if the price stays sane, because we cannot stack mids or take back more than we send. Those are the rails. The rest is basketball judgment and organizational courage. If you ask me for a clear professional verdict, here it is. If medicals are clean on the return and the price stays in a reasonable lane, this is a surgical acquisition that turns our stressful minutes into organized ones and weaponizes Steph off the ball without sacrificing the soul of how we play. If the price reaches into the marrow of our wing defense or the medicals ask you to bet on hope in April, you walk and live with the internal growth curve. And because this is Warriors News Fan Report, and not a fairy tale channel. I'll say the name now. Clean and without drumroll. Fred VanVleet, the adult in the room who makes every possession make sense. The champion guard whose skill set fits us like a tailored suit. And the rumor that refuses to die because it's logical, not loud. Before I close, I want you in this with me. Would you move a single bid money slot and a modest future asset to stabilize our second unit and sharpen our closing five for the next 2 springs? Or do keep the wing size and bet everything on internal pace, health, and shooting variance? Drop your package, your rotation, and your minute map below. I'll pin the cleanest plan so our community can sharpen it together. My final analysis, tight and direct. VanVleet to Warriors is not a fantasy. It's a disciplined scenario with clear rails apron math, 1-for-1 matching, medical timeline, and a price that respects the future. If those align, the basketball fit is so clean that it could extend the Steph window by letting our offense breathe again in the minutes that decide playoff series. If they don't, patience is not passivity. It's how you win June in a league that punishes shortcuts. If this breakdown gave you clarity, like the video, subscribe to Warriors News Fan Report, hit the bell, and ride with me when the Bay moves. We'll move first and we'll move smart.